through. Even, it's almost 4 hours now. Sincere apologies also for keeping you this late.
Yes, gonna
I
have
want to prove that we are all getting something out of these whole sessions. So to bring up the last but not the least speaker, speaking to us on coaching as a tool for national development is Coach Yomi Oladunjoye, and he's a restaurant. He's speaking to us straight up from United States of America, if I'm not mistaken. And before we bring him up, we are going to read his profile. Thank you, Coach Yomi, for putting on your video. And to do that for us is Salifu. Salifu, can you see the screen? Simon, can you see the screen?
Yes, TA, but a little bit far away. Let me see how I can manage.
Well, you have the profile too at your end. So
Yeah, I'm actually using my phone. Let me see if I can just quickly run through that.
all right.
Okay.
So otherwise, okay, right.
Okay, Yomi Oladunjoye's passion is to empower people to habituate the experience of living at the pinnacle of their resourcefulness in every critical area of their lives. His mission is to equip people to live at the highest and truest expression of the intentions of the Creator when he fashioned the cells that made each person. This he accomplished by equipping each individual to holistically transform their lives by the rescripting of their minds. He is the team lead at Cardinal Minds, a coaching, training, and human capacity development company that helps and support both individuals and organizations to become their truest and best selves, as evidenced by achieving the most meaningful and important goal for themselves and the community in which they operate. He works with the mid-level, I beg your pardon. He works with the mid-level and senior level corporate management on minds, rescripting, purpose, and goal clarity, behavioral change competencies, productivity scaling, emotional harmony, and emotional intelligence as an integrative coach. His integrative coaching service has helped people from different organizations improve their sense of self-worth, increase their own motivation, boost their confidence and commitment, build resilience and problem-solving skills, and improve both their own performance and performance of their teams. All of these things have led to a rise in productivity. His individual coaching clients are spread across various organizations and industries, which include JPM Morgan Chase, First Bank, Glow Telecommunications, Zenith Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, InterSwitch, Switch Performance, Sterling Bank, Lagos, state government, amongst others. He has served as coach and mentor to a provincial youth fellowship of the Living Faith Church. He is a trainer at Faith Foundation through his quarterly training and coaching program. Unleash the power in youth identity. He has assisted hundreds of individuals in recognizing their identity, realigning with their purpose, enhancing their self-worth, overcoming their fears, and rekindling their desire to pursue, I beg your pardon, to pursue the life they truly desire. He helps these diverse individuals locally, internationally, and across several vocational sectors advance the course of their lives. The career, finance, and health by equipping them to overcome deep emotional holdback, imposter syndrome, and also procrastinating, while also empowering them to improve emotional wellness, live purposefully, and in full appreciations of their worth through his personalized coaching program. His coaching credentials and license include the following: life coaching practitioner license, emotional mastery certifications, neurologic, sorry, I can bold that a bit. Okay, neurologic programming, sorry, emotional freedom techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy, the Catalyst Gold Pro practitioner, all from the Olushola Larry Coaching Academy, African Ladies Integrating Coaching Academy. In addition to his role at the Canadian Minds, he worked as an associate coach and technical assistant for the Catalyst, Dr. Larry Olushola, African's premier integrative life coach. He has a decade of experience in operations, marketing, credit, and relationship management in one of Nigeria's leading bank, and has a master's degree in business administration from Obafemi Awolowo University. He is happily married with children, and he presently resides in Lincoln, United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, without no further ado, please let's give a round of applause, digital round of applause, as we welcome on board our guest speaker, Iyomi Oladunjoye. Thank you very much, people.
Thank you, Salifu. God bless you. And Coach Iyomi, you're welcome. Good to have you. Thank you for doing this with us, and thank you for the sacrifice.
Thank you very much, Dr. for having me, and good evening, everyone. Let me just quickly dive into the reason why I am here, right? And I'd always been an high flyer, right, before even stepping into banking. If I recollect properly, I'd never ever failed any exams, right, no matter the level of difficulty. Right from my primary school days, I remember very well, I've always been in top 3 in any class I am in, right, or I was in. And then even studying engineering, I graduated with one of the best, results for my class and even in my faculty then. And then I moved into banking, and the first 6 years of my banking career were stellar years, beautiful years, years I loved, even though I never studied anything that had any tangle or from accounting or any commerce related courses, right? So I had my head up high that I was a very, very intelligent person, right? So on this day in January 30, 2012, if I remember very well, I got this letter of reassignment from my human resource department saying to me, Yomi, we're moving you from operations to marketing. And for me, there was no big deal, right? Whatever it is I did in operations, I could replicate in marketing, right? And even though before that time, a year before that time, they had wanted to move me, but I resisted, right? Because of the stories I hear about marketing, how marketing was difficult and this and that. And so on this very day, when I got the letter, I smiled and then called my branch head and they welcomed me into marketing. Little did I know, right, that the news I've been getting about marketing had shifted something within me. Little did I know. But then something happened. The first thing I noticed was that there was an account I had been chasing for about 7 to 8 months in marketing, right? This was close to like a year plus that I was not in marketing. And this account was a good account in the oil and service gas industry, good balance sheet size, good clientele base. In fact, they had some of the top IOCs in the world, right, as their clientele. As at the time I booked them, they had close to about $30 million in receivables, right? And another like $40 million contract over a 3-year running period with some of the huge IOCs in the country then. So getting them was a big one for me. And then the CFO said to me, I'm going to prove you just this first deal, a $10 million credit facility for an offshore asset, right? Looking at their books, everything was tidy. Nothing was going to, truncate this. So I just took it to my zonal credit committee, was approved. Within 2 days, approved. The bank's credit risk management approved. Bank's escrow approved. Boom, boom, boom. Then the sit-in MD at the time said, oh, because these guys were not yet in our books, we needed to welcome them in powerfully. So he said to the group head, right, managing my zone then, go into this, prospects and then just welcome them in powerfully. Remember I had said that all the credit checks have been done and they had all been okay. So the only thing the woman was meant to do was just to follow me and welcome in this client. But then we got into the meeting and things changed. The client you were meant to welcome in became a client we lost. How? The woman all of a sudden said she needed a physical security, right, to collateralize a $10 million credit line. And the question was, where would we get that from? We operate in the oil and gas sector. We don't do physical collateral. We only do lien, which means you're going to use the assets you're financing as a collateral. My group head refused and said she wasn't doing the deal. And then we walked away. That was in the evening, or I think it was on Wednesday. And then the Thursday morning, my branch had called the head of upstream oil and gas and explained the situation to him. And the man said, who does that? Who asked for a physical collateral for an oil and gas transaction? It is a lien you must ask for, and they have a lien. So what are you asking for? So my branch head ran from my office straight to the client's office, but then it was too late. Another banker had come in to take, and guess what? They offered this man, client, oh, somebody's mic is not mute.
Apologies, please. Apologies for that.
They offered this client a higher LIBOR rate. So the client was paying more with them than would have paid with us. After that deal, I felt it was a normal thing. People make mistakes. She made a mistake. I could have made a mistake. And we just generalized it. It was a mistake. 6 months after, I got another deal. This time it was an FMCG agency, right? Procter & Gamble actually asked them to come into the country, right? And luckily for me, the lawyer who helped them to incorporate their business in Nigeria happened to be my client. So when they asked him for a bank and the bank they could bank with, he just, referred me to them. And then we began talks and everything was smooth for like 3 weeks, right? Gave them all the account opening documentation. And then the only thing left was the main man in here was to go back to their country and then get one of the directors to co-sign so that they could open the account. So it was going to be out of the country for like a week or thereabout. And then he was gone. After a week, he came back and then called me to come to his office to see him. So I thought, let me just go in and pick my account opening and then let me just begin to cruise. This account was meant to be generating $2 to $3 million transaction every month. So I was looking at a $24 to $36 million transaction per year. This wasn't a credit line. This was a deposit mobilization account, right? I got to the office and the man said, wow, Yomi, I'm so sorry, things have changed. What do you mean things have changed? He said, I go back to Dubai and then the director who was meant to co-sign with me, who I had carried along all through the 3 weeks I was here speaking with you, getting your pitch, said it wasn't going to go with your bank. We wanted to go with another bank. I was like, which bank was that? And he said, First Bank.
And I asked him, was it that First Bank was pitching you when I was pitching you? He said, no. So how did First Bank come into the picture? He said the only thing he knew was that the man had First Bank and he fell in love with First Bank. He said, in fact, they had to call First Bank from Dubai to ask for a branch they could open an account with. I was dejected. As in, I was really, really dejected. This was like going to my third day in banking, the second major deal, right? And the same thing happened again about 8 months after. This was a Scottish firm listed on London Stock Exchange, and they were into power generation. And they were going to do a deal of like $80 million transaction with me and my bank. And these guys flew in their CFO, right, that was covering North Africa and West Africa to come meet with the bank executives, right? And it was so funny that the day the meeting was going to be held, a meeting we had planned for over 2 weeks, my MD wasn't available. So somebody came in to step into the office as, sit in for the MD. And then there were some requests they made that I could not assent to. So, and that was a Friday. This man also didn't get back to the MD until the following Monday when they were going to have EXCO meeting. And guess what? Between that weekend, things changed. So in 3 years, I had lost 3 major accounts. And guess what? HR were knocking on my door. They were knocking on me mercilessly. Nobody was looking at the fact that, oh, this guy was trying to bring in accounts, some things are not working. What really is the root of the problem? The issue was your figures are not changing the way we want you to change. You're going to answer for it. And I think about 3, 4, 5 months after that, I have to leave the bank. And after I left the bank, that was when I knew there was actually an issue. I had a problem, right? But I didn't know what the problem was, neither did I know how to solve it. And it could be crazy, really, when you know you have a problem, but you don't even know what the problem is. It is also an issue when you even know what the problem is, but you don't know how to solve it. Now, I know I had a problem. I didn't know what the problem was. How would I be able to solve a problem I didn't know how to solve? I think a year after I left the bank, I came into an encounter with coaching. And it was via coaching that I realized that my internal system, that my internal configuration, right, that my belief systems, my internal dialogue, they were not aligned with the deals I was pursuing. So there were conversations in my mind, though I didn't know then the power that my beliefs held, the power my thoughts held, that I couldn't get these deals, right? That these deals were too big, that are these kind of deals for people like me. And for 4 good years in marketing, it truncated all my efforts. Is the same thing happening with you? Do you have colleagues, right, who you see sweat it out, but they don't get the results they ought to get? This was my own problem. This was my issue. And thankfully, through coaching, I was able to resolve my belief systems. I was able to resolve my value systems. I was able to realign my thoughts. I was able to understand a goal-setting process. I was able to understand what it meant, right, to have an accountability partner and to be accountable, right? I was able to understand how to look at a journey you want to undertake and be able to see the things that can truncate the journey, right? And I began a new life. And coincidentally, one of my colleagues added that I had become a coach. And one day he called me. He was still in my former branch. And he said, Yomi, I have this huge problem. I said, what is the problem? He said, the same problem that you had when we were still in banking, I still have the same problem. I have not been able to book a worthy client. So for about 6 years, they have been on the same spot, right? And every week when they go for meetings, they will just know, shredding. So I had some sessions with him, and we were able to, just as I was able to pinpoint what my problem was, we were able to point where his problems lie. And this was a game changer, because 1 month after I was through with him, something happened. He was taken out of the branch he was taken to go and head another branch. And guess what? The very first month he got into that branch, right? Because his internal system had changed, because things had changed within him. That very first month, he got in a 1 billion naira transaction. It had never happened in the history of that branch. They recorded an income they had never recorded, even though the branch was more than 17 years old. It was as though it was a fluke. Would he be able to repeat it? The second month, the same thing. The third month, the same thing. And he just kept powering on. And then one day he called me and said, Yomi, what you did to me worked. And I'm like, I didn't do anything to you. It was all within you. You just needed to clear off, the pitfalls that you had. And that is the power that coaching brings. Now, can you begin to imagine there's so many people that would have been in my shoes when I was in banking. There's so many people that would have lost their jobs, right? And because of loss of jobs, they probably would have lost their marriages. Some of them could have lost their health, right? Some of them could have lost children. Some of them could have lost parents, right? Because they had problems they didn't know how to solve. Can you begin to fathom how much the bank would have made from a $10 million transaction, a $24 million transaction, an $80 million transaction, right, from one person, right, and then cascade that into diverse people having those kind of transactions? What it would mean to the bank, what then it would translate to the economy of the country. But because it's issues, the monies that were meant to come into the bank couldn't come in. The monies that were meant to come into the economy of Nigeria couldn't come in. So as an HR practitioner, I want you to ask yourself, how many people am I responsible for that are having issues internally? And because they are having issues internally, their organizations are not able to benefit from them in their fullest of capacities. And then the country is not able to do likewise. Look at what we are losing. Look at the wealth we are losing. Look at the self-confidence, right, that we are losing. Why? Because people are not in contact with coaching. Because people are not experiencing the power of coaching. Because people are not getting people around them who are able to help them. And for me, this is the reason why human resource is pivotal in coaching. Why? Because you guys will agree with me that everything you do revolves around the human being. Whatever function you can call it, recruitment, employee engagement, retrenchment, training and development, whatever it is you call it, it is still around a human being. In fact, I was thinking through after Tokwe spoke to me about today, that when you say human resource, what does human resource really mean? Human resource really means the resources applicable to a human being. So as a human resource professional, what you're supposed to be doing, right, is to be giving resources that can help a human being facilitate their existence in that organization and even outside that organization. Right? And that is where human resource is so powerful. Human resource is so powerful. One of the key things that you are able to do as a human resource personnel is helping people with their emotional health. Developing a culture in an organization where people's emotional well-being is really taken care of. I was going through some studies, and World Bank says globally and annually, we lose $1 trillion, $1 trillion globally, annually, to emotional ill health. Now, Nigeria doesn't really keep data, so we do not know how much of that $1 trillion accrues from Nigeria, right? But then ask yourself, how many times do you get your colleagues calling from home saying they can't turn up to work? Why? Because they are not well. Not because they are not physically well, but because they are not mentally okay. They're not emotionally okay. How many times, guys, do you talk to your colleagues, or you have colleagues come to you and in speaking, you just find out that they are seeing a coach, they are seeing a therapist, they are seeing an health coach, right? How often do you watch an employee's performance turn south without any notable or logical explanation? And even though most of the time the knee-jerk reaction is to give a memo, but then do we really understand what the source of the problem is? Right? How often do we have colleagues who keep complaining of a particular issue? It could be marital, right? It could be their parents, right? It could be that they don't even know what the problem is, but they keep complaining that I know there's an issue I have, but I don't know what it is, and I can't solve it. And you realize that since they began to talk about the issue, right, their performance has been dropping. And guess what, guys? How frequent now do we even hear of suicides from people? People will feel and we believe have no business towing the path of suicide. This shows one thing, guys. People are in trouble. The human beings, right, that we are responsible for, they are in deep problems. And some of them don't even know what their problems are. And when you don't know what your problems are, how do you solve it? And that for me is where being a coach becomes important. Being a coach, especially for people who are already responsible for the journey, career journey, right, of people's under their portfolio, in their portfolio, it is essential, right, for you to be a coach. It is essential for you to be able to operate like a coach. It is essential for you to be able to think, to reason, to hold engagements like a coach. It is essential for you to be able, right, to create an environment around yourself where people see you as a coach, even if you're not earning extra funds from it. Why? Because coaching itself is a tool that helps unlock people's potential and helps them to maximize their performance. Isn't that the reason why we're in HR? Isn't the role of HR to help people release their potentials and then maximize business gains, right? And now coaching offers you that avenue, right? Coaching also helps you to help people silence the inner voice and allow their instincts and their subconscious to take over them. What do I mean? Every one of us here, right, has a voice that most of the time when you want to do something novel, tells you you cannot. Tells you, what do you have a business doing that for? Do you think it is people like you they're looking for in that area? Do you think you have the skill, even though you have the certifications to back it up? There is this inner critic constantly besieging you, constantly shoveling his voice into your throat and engorging your mind, saying you can't. And most of us listen to it. And because we listen to it, we limit our performances. We limit the things we ought to do, right? And what coaching does is it helps you to be able to be aware of that voice. It helps you to be able to separate yourself from that voice. It helps you to know that the voice is not me. So I have a voice in my head does not make it me. We are two different things. And you can stand away and watch that voice and then deal with that voice so that you can now release the fullness of who you are into whatever things you're doing. And there is nothing that helps anybody improve and deliver exceptional performance like being able to cut out that critical voice and do what you ought to do the way you ought to do it, right? I say this, and this is the way I used to define coaching, that it is a means by which you convey an individual from the place where he is to the place where he wants to be. It's like a coach, right? And I mean a vehicular coach, where you're able to take someone from where they are to where they want to be. And what are the skills that coaching gives to you? Number one, it gives you some ability to listen. You are able to listen. Now, do you know there are just few people in the world really listen? I want you to cast your mind back to any time in the past where you have actually been able to sit with somebody who listened to you. They didn't say a word when you were pouring your mind to them. They didn't say a word. They only listened. And by the time you finished pouring out your mind, you felt as though you have been heard, even though they didn't say a word. The ability to listen is an ability that is scarce. So when people get to encounter people who will listen to them, they bond with them, they stay with them. So imagine you're a human resource person who is able to listen to you, the people who you are responsible for. Imagine what you can do with them. Another reason why you should consider coaching, right, or including the arsenal of his competencies, right, in your tools, is because coaching is personalized. Oh, coaching is personalized. Why? You might use the same tool for 10 different people, but I tell you, the way you deploy them, you deploy the same tool for 10 different people will be in 10 different ways. Why? Because they are bringing different issues. So you're able to personalize what you're doing with each person. And do you know what that creates? It creates a sense of bonding. Another reason why coaching is important is that you help people to clarify their values. Why do you think nowadays people are no longer fixated on having a long-term career in a company? We're always talking about their values are not aligned with my values, organizational culture is not aligned with my values. Most of the time is because the people who are even looking at, or the people complaining, don't even understand their own values. Coaching is a tool where you can help people identify their values. And then when they identify their value, you can stack it up against the values of a company. What do you think that would do? You would have been able to create a sense of bonding between the people you are responsible for and the organization. See, when a person's values aligns with the value of an organization, the person wouldn't just be working the organization for pay alone, because it has been proven. There was a statistic that was done by Gallagher in the United States about 3 years ago, and they said 75% of the respondents said they will go for organizational culture over pay. Because at the end of the day, it is what happens within me that is important. So coaching is important in this time and these days because it helps you even on a personal level. I think I'll say this, coaching is one of the few tools I know that benefits you as a person, right? You can use your own coaching skills to change you as a person, and then use the same tools to change people. My own life has been changed, right, via coaching. I imagine now if the HR executives we had then had coaching skills, and maybe one of them had spoken to me at that time and helped me to realize my pitfalls. I wonder what we could have done in the organization. I wonder what we could have done. So now I want to see yourself as an agent of change. You're not just an HR executive, you are an agent of change. And because you're an agent of change, it is important you have coaching in your repertoire of skills to change you and to change the people you are responsible for. Thank you so kindly for having me.
Wow.